It started off as something small. So small I almost didn't notice. Almost. Melissa had always been the kind of woman who took pride in her appearance. She wasn't obsessed with it, not in a way that felt vain or excessive, but she had her routines. Hair appointments every few weeks, manicures, pedicures, facials, the occasional spa day with her friends. It was normal, expected, but then the pattern shifted. At first, it was subtle. A new appointment here, a rescheduled one there. She started going out for beauty treatments in the evenings. That was strange because she had always handled those things during the day, usually while I was at work. Suddenly, her me time was happening after dinner, right around the time we'd usually be relaxing on the couch or watching something together. And it wasn't just once in a while. No, these appointments became regular. 3 times a week, sometimes more. Some weeks, it felt like she was leaving the house almost every night. When I first brought it up, I wasn't suspicious. Not really. It was just an observation, a passing comment to see how she'd react. "You sure you need that many appointments?" I asked one evening as she slipped on her coat. She flashed me a quick smile, the kind that looked natural but maybe a little too practiced. "Yeah, I started this new treatment," she said casually, adjusting her purse strap. "It's supposed to be really effective, but I have to stay consistent or it won't work." I didn't ask what the treatment was. I just nodded and let it go. At the time, I convinced myself it made sense. Women did all kinds of complicated beauty regimens, right? Who was I to question it? Besides, she looked happy, and I didn't want to be the type of husband who micromanages his wife's personal choices. So I ignored the growing feeling in my gut. Until the night, I saw the messages. She had left her phone on the couch while she went upstairs to take a shower. It wasn't like her to be overly secretive with it. She never clutched it like some people did, never kept it face down or locked with a passcode. That was probably why I hadn't thought anything was wrong before. But that night, the screen lit up with a notification, and out of pure habit, my eyes flicked toward it. A text from a name I didn't recognize. "Luca, see you tonight." For a second, my brain refused to process what I was looking at. It was just a message, a simple string of words and an emoji. But something about it felt wrong. A heart. A damn heart emoji. That wasn't normal. That wasn't professional. That was intimate. A slow, burning heat crawled up the back of my neck as I reached for the phone, my fingers curling around the device before I even realized what I was doing. My hands weren't shaking, but my chest felt tight, my breathing suddenly heavier. I unlocked the screen and opened the conversation. What I saw made my stomach drop. The messages weren't long. There weren't paragraphs or deep confessions. But they didn't have to be. They were frequent. "Looking forward to our next session. Missed you last night. You always look so good when you walk in. See you soon, beautiful." Each text was short, playful, and way too personal. And every single one had hearts. Multiple hearts. I kept scrolling, my thumb moving down through weeks of texts, seeing the same pattern again and again. Every time she left for one of her so-called beauty treatments, Luca was messaging her. And every time Melissa responded. Nothing too obvious. No outright confessions of love. No incriminating pictures. But her replies were just as bad in their own way. She didn't brush him off. She didn't shut him down. "Can't wait. You're the best. See you tonight." My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I didn't need to read between the lines. I didn't need proof beyond what was right in front of me. I wasn't an idiot. I didn't need some detective with a camera hiding in a car outside the salon. Melissa, my wife, was cheating on me with her damn beautician. I sat there, staring at the messages, my grip on the phone tightening with every passing second. The words blurred together, but that damn heart emoji stood out like a neon sign in the dark. It mocked me, taunted me, whispered things I didn't want to hear, but already knew deep down. I tried to breathe, but my chest felt tight. My pulse hammered against my temples. I wasn't the kind of man to let emotions take over. Not the type to explode over small things. But this wasn't small. This was my wife sneaking around with some pretty boy beautician. I set the phone down slowly, carefully, like it might break if I handled it too roughly. Not because I was worried about the damn phone, but because I needed a second to think, to process. I glanced toward the staircase. The shower was still running. I could hear the faint sound of water hitting tile, the occasional shuffle of her movements. She had no idea. No idea that in the span of 5 minutes, everything had changed. No idea that the man she'd been lying to, the man who worked his ass off to provide for her, who thought they had a solid marriage, was now sitting here, gripping the edge of the couch, fighting the urge to go upstairs and demand the truth right that second. I needed more than just texts. I picked up the phone again, thumb hovering over the screen. Her photos? No, too obvious. Her call log? Maybe. But then I saw something else. Her appointments. She had them saved, marked in her calendar. And right there, staring back at me, was Luca's name. Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., Luca, facial treatment. Thursday, 8 p.m., Luca, skin rejuvenation. Saturday, 6:45 p.m., Luca, special session. I let out a slow, sharp breath through my nose. Special session. That was the one that did it. Facial treatment? Sure. Skin rejuvenation? Fine. But special session? What the hell was that supposed to mean? My grip tightened, fingers curling into my palm. I wasn't an idiot. I knew exactly what it meant. The worst part? She wasn't even trying that hard to hide it. The texts weren't deleted. The appointments were right there. Maybe she thought I'd never check. Maybe she thought I was too trusting, too occupied with my own life to notice what was happening right under my nose. Or maybe she didn't care if I found out. That thought sent a sharp wave of anger through me. White hot, blinding. Because if she didn't care, if she truly didn't give a damn about keeping this a secret, then that meant one of two things. One, she was planning to leave me. Or, two, she thought I was too much of a coward to do anything about it. I clenched my jaw so hard I could hear my teeth grind. Coward? No, that wasn't me. That had never been me. I wasn't the kind of man to sit back and let someone walk all over me. And I sure as hell wasn't about to let my wife, the woman I trusted, the woman I shared my life with, treat me like some oblivious fool while she sneaked off to her evening appointments with her beautician. The water shut off upstairs. I heard the glass shower door slide open, the faint rustling of a towel. I forced myself to breathe, forced myself to unclench my fists. Not yet. Not like this. I wasn't about to let her play dumb. Wasn't about to give her the chance to gaslight me, twist the truth, act like I was the crazy one for suspecting something. No. If I was going to confront her, I needed to do it right. And I needed proof. Real proof. Not texts. Not appointments. I needed to see it with my own eyes. And when I did, she'd regret ever thinking she could make a fool out of me. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind running in circles, my anger simmering just beneath the surface. Melissa slept beside me like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't been sending heart emojis to another man, like she hadn't been lying to my face for God knows how long. I want to wake her up right then. Shake her. Demand answers. Watch her stumble over her own excuses. But I held back, because I wasn't going to do this her way. No, she'd spent weeks, months, maybe, playing me for a fool, sneaking around behind my back while I worked long hours, thinking I'd never notice. Now, it was my turn to play her. I wasn't just going to confront her. I wasn't just going to yell, argue, let her spin some half-baked lie about how it wasn't what it looked like. I was going to catch her, red-handed, no way out, no denials, no excuses, no sweet little lies to wiggle her way out of it. I just had to be patient. And as much as it killed me to lie there beside her, pretending nothing was wrong, I forced myself to do it. The next morning, I went about my day like normal. Melissa was the same as ever. Cheerful, affectionate, smiling at me over her coffee like she wasn't sneaking out at night to be with someone else. It made me sick. She kissed me on the cheek before I left for work, the same way she always did. "See you later, babe," she said like she meant it. I barely muttered a response. At work, I couldn't focus. My thoughts kept drifting back to her phone, those texts, the appointments, the way she had smiled at me that morning, as if nothing had changed. I checked my own phone twice. I already knew what I was looking for before I even saw it. A new appointment. Thursday, 8 p.m., Luca, skin rejuvenation. I almost laughed. She was predictable. Routine. and that was going to be her downfall. Thursday night, I left the house first. Melissa thought I had a work meeting, something last-minute important. I played it off like it was annoying, like I didn't want to go, grumbling about how my boss had terrible timing. She smiled, understanding. Kissed my cheek. It's okay, babe. I'll probably just relax at home tonight. Lies. Lies straight to my face. I bit my tongue, forced a nod, and walked out the door. I didn't go far. I parked 2 blocks away, waiting, watching the house from a distance. My hands gripped the steering wheel, my heartbeat slow and steady, my mind clear. 15 minutes passed, then 20, and then, right on schedule, Melissa walked out the front door. She wasn't dressed casually like she would be for a spa appointment. No leggings, no oversized sweater, none of that usual comfort wear. She was dressed up, not over the top, not full-on date night, but just enough to be off. A little more effort, a little more makeup, a little too much perfume. She thought I was gone. She thought she was in the clear. I watched as she got in her car, backed out of the driveway, and drove off. And I followed. She didn't go to a salon, didn't go to a spa, or a clinic, or any kind of place that offered skin rejuvenation treatments. She drove across town, through streets I didn't recognize, past stores I had never been to, down a road lined with houses, not businesses. And then she pulled into a driveway. Not a parking lot, a driveway, a house. And waiting outside, standing on the porch like he had been expecting her, was Luca. Even from my car, I could tell exactly who he was. Too good looking for his own damn good. Young, fit, the kind of guy who probably spent more time styling his hair than actually working. He leaned against the doorframe, smiling as she stepped out of her car. Like he knew her, like he was used to seeing her, like this was normal. And then, just to hammer the last nail into the coffin, Melissa walked right up to him, and he pulled her into a hug. Not a friendly one, not a quick, casual, hey, good to see you kind of hug. This was slow, close. His hands lingered on her waist. Her head tilted up toward him in a way that made my stomach burn. And then she laughed. Laughed, like she was having the time of her life. Like she hadn't just lied straight to my face, not even 2 hours ago. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. My jaw locked so hard it hurt. But I didn't move. Not yet. Because this wasn't enough. I wasn't here to just catch a hug. I was here to bury her lies so deep she couldn't crawl out of them. So I waited, and I watched, and I let my rage build. Because when the time came, Melissa was going to wish she had never, ever thought she could play me. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. There she was, my wife, standing in the warm glow of some bastard's porch light, smiling like a woman who had no husband waiting for her at home. And Luca? He stood there like he owned the world, his arms draped around her waist, his hands too familiar, too comfortable, too damn confident. I could feel my blood pulsing in my temples. My jaw clenched so tightly it felt like my teeth would crack. This wasn't an innocent mistake. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This was betrayal, right in front of me. Still, I didn't move. Not yet. I forced myself to stay still, my breathing steady, my hands controlled. Because this wasn't enough. I wasn't about to storm up there like some raging idiot, demanding explanations she'd twist into lies. I wasn't going to give her a way out. I wasn't going to let her cry, act confused, play the victim. No, I needed undeniable proof. I needed her to dig her own grave. So I sat there, watched, waited, and sure enough, she made it easy for me. After a few minutes, they went inside. I let out a slow breath through my nose, my fingers tapping against the steering wheel as I weighed my options. If I follow now, they'd hear me. If I rushed in, I'd get exactly what I wanted, but too soon. Because I didn't just want to catch them inside. I wanted to see how far this had gone. I wanted to hear the things she said to him, the lies she told, the way she acted when she thought I was nowhere in sight. So I got out of my car, locked it quietly, walked toward the house with slow, controlled steps. The place was small, single-story, clean, modern, one of those new-build homes that looked like something out of catalog. He probably rented it, a flashy little spot meant to impress women like Melissa. Women who had husbands at home but wanted something extra. I felt a bitter taste rise in my throat. I clenched my fists and forced it down. Not yet. The front windows were covered with sheer curtains, thin enough to let the light glow through, but not thick enough to hide everything inside. I moved carefully, positioning myself at an angle where I had a clear view but wouldn't be seen. And then, there they were. Melissa sat on a plush-looking couch, one leg crossed over the other, her body angled toward him in a way that made my stomach burn. She wasn't stiff, wasn't nervous, wasn't acting like a woman who thought she was doing something wrong. No, she was comfortable. Like this wasn't the first time. Like this was a routine. Lucas stood in front of her, pouring wine into 2 glasses, his body relaxed, casual, practiced. And then he walked over, handed her a glass. And she smiled up at him. The kind of smile I hadn't seen in a long, long time. A real smile. A lover's smile. A smile meant for someone who wasn't me. I felt my pulse pound in my throat. Melissa took the glass, swirling the wine, tilting her head slightly as she spoke. Too familiar, too at ease. And then she laughed. That soft, sweet, knowing laugh. And he leaned down, not to kiss her, not yet, but just close enough. Close enough to let it build. Let it simmer. Let the anticipation sit between them like something electric. And I knew exactly what this was. She hadn't just fallen into an affair. She had chosen this. Deliberately. Consciously. Repeatedly. And I wasn't about to let her walk away from it unscathed. I moved away from the window, my breaths slow, steady, my anger coiled tight like a spring. I could end this right now. I could walk up to that front door, pound my fist against it, watch their faces twist in horror as I stood there, waiting, demanding explanations they wouldn't be able to give. But that was too easy, too simple. And Melissa didn't deserve simple. She had orchestrated this, planned it down to the minute, lied to me without a second thought, smiled in my face every single morning, kissed me like I was the only man in her life. And now I was supposed to just barge in and let her control the story? No. I was going to be smart about this. She wanted to live a double life? Fine. She wanted to play a game? I'd play. But I'd be the one writing the rules now. I walked back to my car, climbed inside, and took a deep breath, my mind already working through the steps, the way this would play out. Melissa thought she was in control. She wasn't. And when she realized that, she was going to regret every single choice she made. I drove home in silence, my hands tied on the wheel, my mind racing. I had all the proof I needed. More than enough. The texts, the appointments, the way she had dressed up just to go see him. And then there was the final nail in the coffin. The way she had looked at him. That wasn't just some meaningless fling. That wasn't some casual mistake. That was affection. That was intimacy. And that was betrayal. I could have confronted her that night. I could have walked through her front door, sat at the table, and waited for her to come home, let her see the fury on my face, let her squirm under my stare. But I didn't, because Melissa didn't deserve an easy ending. She had spent weeks, months, maybe longer sneaking around behind my back, planning every little detail of her affair like I was too stupid to notice. She had taken one look at me, the man who had loved her, trusted her, built a damn life with her, and decided I wasn't enough. She had made her choice. Now I was going to make mine. I spent the next day watching her. Not in an obvious way. Not in a way that would make her suspect anything. I just observed the way she acted, the way she smiled at me over breakfast like nothing had changed, the way she kissed my cheek before heading off to run errands. I wanted to be sick. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and make her admit it, but I didn't, because Melissa thought she was in control, and I wanted her to keep thinking that for now. The next step was setting things in motion. First, I called in a favor. A buddy of mine, Eric, owned a security business. Nothing too big. Home systems, surveillance, that kind of thing. We'd been friends for years, and when I told him I needed hidden cameras installed inside my house, he didn't ask too many questions. He just asked when I wanted it done. Tonight, I said. He whistled. That urgent? Yeah. He didn't push. That's what I liked about Eric. He didn't pry into things that weren't his business. By that evening, the cameras were installed. Small, discreet, placed in all the right spots. The living room, the kitchen, the bedroom. I wasn't taking any chances. Melissa had made herself too comfortable lying to my face. If she thought she could get away with this, then she was bound to make a mistake. And when she did, I was going to catch her. The second part of my plan was more personal. I needed to see exactly how far she'd go. So I set a trap. That night, as we ate dinner, I leaned back in my chair, took a sip of my beer, and let out a heavy sigh. "I'm about to go out of town next weekend," I said casually. "Work thing." Melissa didn't flinch. She just raised an eyebrow, chewing thoughtfully. "Oh, where to?" "Chicago," I lied. "Corporate retreat." "Mandatory." She nodded like it didn't matter, like she wasn't already calculating what this meant for her. "How long?" she asked, stabbing at her salad. 3 days, I said. Friday through Sunday. Another nod. Barely any reaction. But I saw it. The way her fingers twitched slightly around her fork. The way her lips pressed together for a fraction of a second. Thinking, calculating. I didn't push. I didn't say anything else. I just let it hang in the air. Melissa was good at lying, but she wasn't good at hiding when she was planning something. And I knew. The second I left that house for my trip, she would run straight to him. To Luca. To her lover. And when she did, I'd have every second of it recorded. The week dragged on. Melissa didn't change. She still played the role of the perfect wife. Still texted me sweet little nothings. Still kissed me every morning. But I could see the anticipation in her eyes. She was waiting for me to leave. And that was what made my blood boil the most. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the way she had settled into it. The way she had made it routine. Like she had stopped even thinking of me as a real person, a real husband, someone who would notice. Like I had already become irrelevant to her. That was fine, because by the time I was done, she wouldn't just regret what she did. She'd regret ever thinking she could do it to me. Finally, Friday arrived. I packed a bag, made it convincing. I even kissed her goodbye before I left, watching as she smiled up at me like the loving wife she pretended to be. She had no idea. No idea I wasn't actually leaving. No idea I was parked 2 streets over, watching, waiting. No idea that the moment she stepped inside our house with him, I'd be watching everything. And then, it would all be over. For good. I sat in my car, parked 2 streets over, my fingers drumming against the steering wheel as I stared at my phone screen. The live feed from the cameras flickered, showing an empty house. For now, I had left the house less than an hour ago. I wanted to give her time. Time to make her move, time to feel safe. Melissa thought she was in the clear. She thought her husband was halfway to Chicago, sitting in some sterile hotel room, completely unaware of what she was doing. She had no idea I was right here, waiting for her to show her true colors. I can almost picture her at home now, checking her phone, pacing, waiting. I imagined her standing in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair, applying just enough makeup to look effortless. Maybe she was changing outfits 3 or 4 times, deciding whether she should go for sexy or casual. The thought made my fingers curl into a fist. I turned my attention back to the phone, watching the empty feed. And then, movement. The front door opened. And in walked Melissa. She wasn't alone. Luca followed, right behind her. He stepped inside like he belonged there. Like he had walked through that door 100 times before. Melissa barely hesitated before closing the door behind him, locking it. I let out a slow breath, my jaw clenching as I watched. She turned to him, smiling, reaching for his hand. She led him into the living room, their bodies close, too close. They sat on the couch together, and I could see the ease between them. The comfort, the familiarity. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't hesitating. This wasn't something new. This was routine. I could feel my heartbeat pounding in my ears, but I forced myself to stay calm, to keep watching. I wasn't here to stop it. Not yet. I needed more. I needed to see exactly how deep this went. And so I watched. I watched as Melissa leaned against him, her legs curled up beneath her, her body language completely open. I watched as Luca rested his hand on her thigh, his fingers trailing lazily across her skin like he had done it 1,000 times before. I watched as she tilted her head up at him, smiling, laughing, looking at him with the same eyes that used to look at me. Then the kiss. She leaned in first. No hesitation, no guilt, no second thoughts, just desire. And when their lips met, something inside me snapped. There it is, the final nail. I had seen enough. I set my phone down carefully on the passenger seat, taking a deep breath, forcing my body to stay still. Every instinct in me screamed to drive straight home. to rip him out of my house, to make her feel what I was feeling. But I wasn't going to, because I wasn't finished yet. Melissa had spent months lying to me, playing her little game, sneaking around while pretending to be the perfect wife. I wasn't about to let her walk away from this without consequences. I wasn't about to let her play the victim, act like this was some kind of mistake. I was going to make sure there was no way out. So I picked my phone back up, and I hit record. I recorded everything. Every kiss, every touch, every laugh. I recorded the way she gazed at him, the way she leaned into him like he was the only man in the world. I recorded her betrayal, moment by moment, second by second. I wasn't doing this for myself. I was doing it for her. Because when the time came, when I finally revealed what I knew, she wasn't going to have a single excuse left to stand on. There would be no lies, no gaslighting, no twisting the truth. Just cold, hard reality staring her in the face. Undeniable, unforgivable. And then I destroy her. They moved to the bedroom after an hour. Our bedroom. I watched them disappear from the living room camera, my stomach twisting in knots, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly it felt like my bones might snap. I had seen enough. I killed the feed, tossed my phone onto the seat beside me, and then I just sat there, in the quiet, in the rage. I should have felt something deeper, something more profound. But all I felt was cold, because Melissa wasn't my wife anymore. Not really. She was just a woman I used to know. And when I walked back through that door, she'd finally realized that. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at the dashboard, listening to the faint hum of the engine. My mind wasn't racing anymore. The anger wasn't boiling over like it had been earlier. No, now it was controlled, cold, focused. Melissa had made her choice, over and over again. She hadn't just fallen into some foolish one-time mistake, hadn't been swept up in some emotional confusion. She had planned this. She had built this lie, and now I was going to tear it all down. I took a deep breath, rolled my shoulders, cracked my knuckles. Then I put the car in drive and headed home. The streets were quiet as I pulled into the neighborhood, my headlights cutting through the darkness. The driveway was empty. Luca hadn't stayed the night. I had expected that. Melissa was reckless, but not stupid. She wouldn't risk waking up next to another man in our bed when she thought I could call or text at any moment. But that didn't matter, because I had everything I needed. I parked the car, grabbed my bag, asterisk, the same bag I had packed just to make the trip look real, asterisk, and walked up to the front door. The key turned in the lock. The house was dark, quiet still, and then movement, footsteps, the soft shuffle of fabric, the sound of someone stirring awake. A light flicked on upstairs. Then, her voice. "Babe." I closed the door behind me. Melissa stood at the top of the stairs, wrapped in a silk robe, blinking down at me in surprise. "You're back early." Her voice was thick with sleep, groggy, innocent, like she hadn't spent the night in our bed with another man. I dropped my bag by the door, took my time unzipping my jacket, hanging it on the hook. She was watching me closely now, probably trying to gauge my mood, trying to figure out if something was off. "I got home early," I said simply, my voice flat. Her face twitched slightly. "Oh." She shifted on her feet, adjusting her robe, pulling it tighter. "How was the trip?" The trip that never happened. I almost laughed. Instead, I just met her eyes and asked, "How was your night?" She hesitated, just for a fraction of a second, and I saw everything. The wheels turning in her head, the instant, subconscious calculation of what to say, how to say it. Then, she forced a small smile. "It was fine. Pretty quiet. Quiet. I tilted my head, studying her, letting the silence stretch between us. Her fingers twitched against the fabric of her robe. And then, she tried to change the subject. "You must be tired. Do you want me to make you something?" Like she hadn't just stood in this exact house with another man hours ago. Like she hadn't kissed him, touched him, let him into my home, my bed, my life. I took a slow step forward, then another. She didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Melissa frowned, confused, watching as I unlocked it. And then I turned the screen toward her. Press play. Her face changed instantly. The second she saw the screen, her breath caught in her throat. The video played, her and Luca on my couch drinking wine, kissing, laughing. Every second of it, captured in perfect clarity. Her eyes went wide. What? I let it play. Let her watch herself. And then, the bedroom footage. Melissa sucked in a sharp breath. Her hand flew to her mouth, her body tensing like she had been struck. I watched her process it, realize that I knew everything. And then came the excuses. Wait, babe, I can explain. I shut off the phone. I lifted my eyes to hers. You lied to me. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes were darting around now, searching for an out, searching for a way to talk her way through this, past this, around this. She had nothing. Babe, please, she tried again, her voice trembling now. It's not what you think. I laughed. Sharp, cold, not what I think. I repeated, shaking my head. Melissa, I just watched you in my house, in my bed, with another man. Tears welled in her eyes. I made a mistake. I scoffed. A mistake? Her hands trembled. It didn't mean anything. I let out a slow breath, rubbing my jaw, staring at the woman I thought I knew. The woman who had lied to me, kissed me, slept beside me, pretended everything was normal. I leaned in just slightly. Melissa, I said, my voice calm, steady, deadly. You don't accidentally spread your legs for another man. Her face crumbled. She sagged against the wall, shaking, breaking right in front of me. I wanted to feel something watching her fall apart, but I didn't. I felt nothing, because Melissa wasn't my wife anymore. She was just a liar who had run out of lies. And now, she was going to pay the price. I reached into my jacket, pulled out a manila envelope, and tossed it onto the counter. She stared at it like it was a bomb. What is that? She whispered. I picked up my bag and slung it over my shoulder. Then I looked her straight in the eyes and said, Divorce papers. Her mouth fell open. No, babe, please, we could talk about this. I turned toward the door. Wait, she cried, stepping forward. I love you. I stopped, laughed again. Slow, cold. Then I turned back one last time. No, Melissa, I said. If you loved me, this never would have happened. And then I walked out the door. For good.